What art medium should you use when you're first looking to become an artist? There's a lot of you out there looking to just start art, looking to just get your foot in the water, test things out. You see all these great artists out here using various things. They're doing pen and ink, they're doing charcoal and graphite, they're doing watercolor, they're doing digital, they're doing acrylics, they're doing oil paint, they're doing all these different types of art. I know there's some that I'm missing in there. So what should you use? What should you start out with? Well, today I'm here to help you out with what direction to take. Now, I know some people will give you the cliche answer is there is no wrong medium to start out with. However, there are key things that will help you in deciding what medium to start with and what medium to choose. So I'm going to share with you guys a bit of my art journey, and hopefully I can help you guys in the direction as to where you want to go with starting your work and how you want the end results to be. So before we get into that video, like, hit subscribe. I'll give y'all a second to do that. All right, let's get into the video. Now, I'm not going to take you guys too far back in terms of my art journey, when I started drawing and how did I get into painting now. But there are a few key things. So with my art journey, when I really buckled down and decided that I want to have an art career, that I'm going to push forth with my talent and develop it into a business, but also develop on my skills and keep bettering my skills. At that point, I was doing pen and ink drawings. So I was mainly doing a lot of comic book work. You know, I'm a big comic book fan. You know, I grew up on them. So that was my first reference as to getting into art. And from there, I went into things like graphite and charcoal. Now with graphite and charcoal is where I wanted to get more into portraits, and not just any type of portraits, but I really wanted to get into realism, and I wanted to push how realistic can I get with my pencil and charcoal. I've seen tons of realistic work, and when I seen that, I was like, I want to do something like that. I think that I have it in me and I'm fully capable of doing it. So let me give myself a challenge with this medium and let's see how far we can go. And to be real with you, it was kind of challenging. It was kind of challenging working with graphite and charcoal and trying to achieve that realism. There's a lot of different techniques that are involved. It can get a bit messy at times because I was dealing with stuff like charcoal powder and graphite powder, and even down to the type of pencils and the leads. You know, some are soft, some are hard, and then if you're using different brands, it will give you different results, I found. So starting off with graphite and charcoal and also pen and ink, that was a good reference point for me in terms of also learning to draw and get my sketches down. That helped big time transition over into now colored pencil. So I got tired of the black and white work, and well, not really tired, but I felt that I can get more expressive with my work if I can have it in color. There's certain things that would hit people different if they were to see it in different colors, different shades. So I decided I'm going to take the realism route and all the ideas I have, but now I'm going to get into colored pencil. So I decided that I was going to get some Prismacolors. I also got some Caran d'Ache Luminance and Pablo pencils. These were absolutely awesome to work with. Keep in mind, I knew nothing about color theory and high chroma, low chroma, and all these other stuff that would later translate over into painting. I knew nothing of this. I paid no attention to any of that. I broke the rules. I just went with the reference and I looked at the values, I looked at the different shades, I looked at the different vibrancies of color. So with that, I was able to do some good work with my colored pencils. I was very happy with a lot of the things I was putting out. However, doing a picture in colored pencil takes a very long time. It's very time consuming. The Black Panther piece that I did, that took over like 5 weeks to do. And then I would get commissioned for certain pieces. I had to do an 18 by 24 piece. That took a very long time. I had to put double overdrive to get that done for the client. So me realizing, you know what, it's taking a very long time to get these pictures done. I have to move on to another medium that will allow me to work a bit more faster, that will still give me the same vibrancy, and maybe I can still incorporate some of my colored pencils. So move over now to watercolors. Watercolor was very challenging. Watercolor was very challenging and hard to work with. It's a paint and medium that's hard to control, number one. It's hard for it to get to do what you want. It takes a lot of time and practice. However, working with it, I was able to pull off some pieces that, you know, I was very proud of. And I did try some portrait work with it, but like I said, it's very challenging to do. I think if it's a medium that I stuck with, over time I would have developed my skills more, obviously, and I would have developed it into the realism that I was trying to achieve to an extent. I don't believe, and I haven't seen myself, true realism with watercolor paints. However, they're a fun medium to use. I always enjoyed my time working with them, and it's also a good starting point and introduction into paints. So after I finished with watercolors, I said, you know what? The problem with watercolors is that I'm doing it on these sheets of paper, like my colored pencil work, like my charcoal and graphite work. So now if people want to buy it, I gotta go get it framed. Now, since most of my clients I have to ship to, I have to go get packaging for that. I've had problems where the glass is broke. The glass from the frame has broke from shipping it. So I have to buy a different type of glass, which is not, my point is that it wasn't cost effective. So I thought, what is something where I can still create, I can still get out my ideas, but is also going to be cost effective and is also going to allow me to do a lot of the things that I have in mind. Acrylic paints. That's the next one that I went to. I went from watercolors to acrylic paints. Acrylic paints was good. I really enjoy working with acrylic paints. The first piece that I did in acrylic paints was, again, a comic book piece. It was a Spawn, and I loved how it turned out. It actually went beyond what I was expecting. The only problem that I had with acrylic paints, and it's a major issue for me that turned me off from the medium, is that it dries darker than what you mix and what you first put on the canvas. So with this Kobe project here, this is one of the projects I absolutely hate. I do not like how this turned out at all. One of the main reasons is that I would mix the skin tone, I'll put on the canvas, and acrylic paints being acrylic paints, it dried much darker. So then I was trying to find a workaround to combat that, and it just made the whole thing just look ugly. So it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with a stylistic approach and start slapping colors in there. It was this project that made me decide, you know what? I'm gonna move over to oil paints, and this is gonna be the medium that I use, that I stick with, and keep practicing and developing my skills. There are some major things that made me stick with oil paints and that appealed to me about oil paints. Number one, I'm a huge fan of Renaissance art, and finding out that in the Renaissance ages and the old masters, they all used oil paints. So that was number one for me. Also, I've seen a lot of portrait art, a lot of realism that just popped right off the canvas, and it didn't even look like a painting. It looked like a straight up photograph, or it looked like you were looking at a real person. So I looked at that and I said, that's the direction I want to go. You know, it was a direction from when I first started this journey, and it's now what I want to keep doing. Also with the oil paints, it doesn't dry fast. So it's you know, you're not gonna leave it for 5 minutes like acrylic paints, come back and it's rock hard. Not gonna happen with oil paints. Another thing that I really love about oil paints is the blending. Because it doesn't dry super fast, I'm able to blend, I'm able to make corrections in areas that have mistakes, or if I lay down a color and you know I don't really like how it looks, I can easily wipe it off the canvas, no problem. This can last up to the next day or even a few days after. So those key things made me stick with oil paints. Now, when choosing a medium, I would break it down into 3 things for you to decide what you want to go with, whether it's color pencil, whether it's acrylic, whether it's oil, whether it's digital, whether it's watercolor, whatever it is. The 3 things that should influence your decision is, number 1, what type of art attracts you? What type of art catches your eye the most? So if you're someone that, let's say, portraits catch your eye the most, realism portraits catch your eye the most, then you would probably want to start looking at mediums that will allow you to achieve those looks. Look at some of your favorite artists and what medium they're using. If you see that you like a lot of work from artists that are achieving realism in color pencil, then that might be the medium for you to start out with. However, if you've always been interested in painting, I would suggest going ahead with oil paint. Now, let's say you're an artist that likes more of the pop art style of art, the more street gritty type of graffiti type, and lots of splashes and everything like that. I would recommend something like acrylics. If you're someone that just likes strictly portraiture and you like to draw with a pencil, you know, maybe you like to just quickly draw things up in your spare time, I don't know, on the train on the way to school or work, or just wherever you can find some peace and quiet, you want to break a sketch pad out and start getting your ideas out, I would recommend something like graphite or charcoal to go with. So you got to find what appeals to you, number 1, and also you got to find things that are suitable for your time. Some of you may not have, you know, hours on end to get a painting started. However, I do recommend that every artist that is getting into painting, they spend at least 1 hour a day just painting. No matter how much you get done, just spend 1 hour and put in what you can put into that painting. Over time, you'll get better. Over time, you'll get faster. And that applies for every medium. As you keep working along, and I've even experienced this, you'll finish these pictures a lot faster. I'm not saying to rush them, but you'll notice that you'll be a lot quicker at getting things completed. So find things that suit your time. If sketching, you know, pen and ink work also works best for you, and you can do that, you know, in your spare time, and it's not going to take a lot for you to get the materials together, definitely go with that. You want to make sure that it's suitable to your lifestyle. Now for the third. The third is do what's cost effective. Pick a medium that is going to suit your budget and suit what you can pick up. If you can't spend hundreds of dollars on art supplies, look for a medium that will not force you to do that. Even if you want to get into a medium, let me just use oil paint for example. You want to get into oil paint. Oil paints can get expensive depending on what color you use. Let's say you want to get a cadmium. A cadmium is going to run you more money than if you get something like a cadmium hue, which is a lighter version of it. It doesn't contain the same chemicals necessarily, and it's significantly different in price. So if you want to get in something like paint, it might be a good idea to get the hues, but also to get the student grade paints to start out with. Then as you're able to get the more expensive stuff, then you can slowly start doing that. One thing that I've always done is that when I needed to buy a bunch of supplies, other than that big major art haul that I did, when I needed to get some supplies, I would try and get something new every month. So every month I would get 1 or 2 items, and then before you knew it, I had everything I needed. So that's one way of watching your budget, being cost effective. Now, the cheaper mediums, stuff like graphite and charcoal, stuff like color pencils, yes, they do have a cheaper student grade section to them, but they can also get expensive. Something like a Luminance set or a Pablo set, that can cost up to like $300 for 120 colored pencils. So it can get pretty pricey. So my advice is to save yourself from the headache. Just start off with student grade and then work your way up. Start off thinking, what exactly do you need to get your pieces done? So you're not just buying all these random things and some of them you're not going to use and you're going to end up wasting your money. And there's a fourth. Lastly, make sure that you have fun doing what you're doing. Always be a student of art. Always learn. Even when you're a teacher, always look to learn. Always look to get better. Keep practicing your skills. Try and be creative and do something creative every single day. Thank y'all for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.